Happy Halloween. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Glenn, what was the top story for you?
Well, you are very lucky because I almost wore that same outfit today.
Really?
I almost did.
Oh,
yeah.
no. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's harder for me to get into it.
You have the Catwoman costume.
Yeah, the spandex and just the zipper broke this morning. Otherwise, I would be in
excruciating pain.
Otherwise, you would
part.
Otherwise,
it exploded. It just exploded.
Otherwise, you would be in a costume. Which
which
you're
I'm not. Right. Okay, so top story today, I think, has to be the blindness of, I think, pretty much all people right now. We are all blind to the things that we do.
All right, so.
The economy has pushed itself a little bit towards the edge, and there's a real reason why that's happening that people are beginning to notice, and I want to discuss that.
All right, Andrew.
I'm going to give you an option.
Okay.
Would you rather talk about licensing regimes or strippers?
I always go strippers.
Okay, we're going to do that.
Oh,
Also, it involves licensing regimes.
Wow. Bonus. All right, before we get into all of that, want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. So Riduzone, of course, as we've talked about, is it helps you with weight loss. It helps you maintain a healthy weight if you don't need to lose any more weight. I just want to mention really quickly, behind me, that was actually Jeffy 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and now, as you can see, Riduzone did the trick, and he is now a skeleton.
Did you ever think you could wear a catsuit outfit? And may I ask, is that leather or is that spandex or what is that?
I think it's pleather.
Pleather. Okay. All right. So did you ever think, that fat girl that was there, that you'd ever get into?
No.
No.
Never.
Right.
I mean, I only dreamed of I wish I could wear cute stuff like that.
Yeah. I wouldn't classify that as cute. Would you guys classify that as cute?
It's not cute.
It's a villain, isn't it? Catwoman a villain?
Well, yeah. And I think
It's a cute villain.
Yeah, I think if a
criminal.
Sarah, you're a
6-year-old
empowered woman, and I respect your choices.
Yes.
Whatever you want to do, I'm fine with.
Yes.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. Anyway, so Fatty
Switzerland.
lost the fat, and now she's dressed as catsuit, and it's because of Riduzone.
Yes, Riduzone helps control cravings, boost your metabolism. Thank you, Glenn, for that wonderful summary.
You back.
You can go to riduzone.com and use promo code THEBLAZE to get 30% off of a 3-month supply. That is RIDUZONE.com.
You want to look like her? Riduzone. You want to look like me? Chicken. All right. Fried chicken. All right, so I just want you to watch this clip. This is from CNN last night, and Don Lemon, and I like Don. I mean, Don is in my book where I kind of, I try to teach him what maybe is happening, but I think Don has gone off the deep end. And this is something that so many people are doing right now, and it's phenomenal. Watch him in one sentence diametrically oppose himself. Watch.
I keep trying to point out to people not to demonize any one group or any one ethnicity, but we keep thinking that the biggest terror threat is something else. Some people who are marching, towards the border like it's imminent. And when the last time they did this, a couple hundred people came, and they, most of them did get into the country. Most of them got tuckered out before they even made it to the border. So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right to the right. And we have to start doing something about them. There is no travel ban on them. There is no ban on, they have the Muslim ban. There is no white guy ban.
Now, I don't know what he's talking about as a white man with a stick. It's amazing to me. The quote is, we have to stop demonizing people, not even a comma, and realize the greatest terror threat in this country is the white man. Wow. And this is happening over and over and over again on TV. And I see it more on the left, but I also see it on the right. There is no self-awareness. You'd think with phones where the camera is facing you, we might notice that we're being hypocritical a little bit more, but we don't. We're not seeing ourselves. And it's wildly dangerous and kind of entertaining.
If he'd worded it differently, if he'd said that there's more of a threat within the United States than out with the United States, would that have been okay? I mean, the primary issue is that he's saying don't demonize people, and then he picks a specific group to demonize.
Yeah, right. Is that a minor inconsistency there?
Yeah. And, that was a little subtle. I'm glad you clarified that.
Israel is always Switzerland.
Yeah, it's a little.
I'll take it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but could he have meant it a different way, like Mr. Rainbows and Puppies? I love it.
Because we'll talk about probably the caravan here in a minute,
Yeah.
and there are all these fears being stoked right now. I think by a lot of different sources, the president among them, that we need to be really worried about people coming to the United States. But all of the violence that we're seeing is within the United States. Now that's I don't want to get into the racial side of it, but
we were talking about this earlier. Look, people are complaining now about invasion. They're using the word invasion. Well, you know how we used it? Well, the first time I saw it, I saw 7,000 people marching, and they had a Honduran flag in front, and they were marching and saying they were going to cross our border illegally. And my response was, isn't that what our military does, except with tanks? When the last time we rolled into a country with 7,000 people, we had tanks with us, and that's called an invasion. It's not a caravan. It actually is an invasion. You're coming unwelcome into another country, crossing their borders illegally. But that word is now becoming so politicized and is so polarized. Okay, then let me take it down to the least polarizing word. It's a problem. The 7,000 people, it's a problem. If they get to the border, they need to be stopped. How are they going to be stopped? It's better to worry about it now and have Mexico defuse all of this so they don't get to the border. But I just got another email from Honduras today. Saturday, they were sending busloads of people out again. There's another wave behind this. It's a problem. And the problem is we have lawlessness on our border because our government won't make a decision. I'm convinced the American people, they just want to know who's coming in. They want to know who's coming in. I don't want MS-13. I don't want Al-Qaeda. I don't want ISIS. I don't want people coming in the back door. I do want a welcoming spirit and say, come on in, man. You make us stronger. You're great. You're doing jobs. You put my son to shame because he's too lazy. Good for you. Let him work the fryolator while you get a better job because you're willing to work for it. That's great. But we won't talk reason. We won't talk about making it easier for legal immigration, making it harder for illegal immigration. And what do we do with the people that are already here? Let's figure that out once we have it. First of all, a lot of them don't necessarily want to live here. They just want to earn money. That's what they want to do. They want to earn money and send it back to their kids so they have a better life. Who's talking about it this way? No one.
Yeah. Did you guys see also that the United Nations said that Trump must allow the migrants into America?
I don't care what the United Nations.
The most powerful person in the United Nations is the guy that sets prices at a gift shop. That's the only person with real-world implications of what he can do.
But their explanation was ridiculous. Did you read it?
Well, I mean, I'm a lot more sympathetic to the caravan. I don't view it as an invasion. I rather than sending out, I think we're up to like 7,000 troops to wait for 2 months before they walk here. I would send out people to try and figure out who's a problem and who's not, so that when they get here, we can figure out a way to let them in.
But you can't do that because then you will just usurp the entire immigration system. You can't make a special immigration policy here.
This is so hard to take you seriously right now. I have no idea what you're even talking about.
I don't know why.
No, but I have a serious question. So if you've got all of these people demanding entry into another country, what do you call that other than an invasion? What would you call it? I mean, they're not asking for permission, right? They're saying we are going to enter your country whether you like it or not. Try to use
7,000
force.
people.
Well,
Right. I mean, what else do you call it?
If you've got an illegal alien in the country, do you individually call them an invader?
No.
Like,
but we're talking about we're
You
talking
gotta
about a
take the
force of people,
context.
7,000 people.
Yeah, it's 7,000 people walking here to try and get jobs and stuff. I don't view that as an invasion force. I don't see that as a military action, right?
Yeah, I think. Look, we talked about this a little bit off the air earlier today. I think invasion. Like, I understand
I'm
why
not
it's being
fighting
used.
for the word
and
invasion,
Glenn,
by the way.
Yeah, no, I
Glenn
was
not
just
fighting
curious
for
what
it.
you would call it.
Look, invasion indicates weapons, right? Like, it indicates warfare, right? Like, I don't think that that's necessarily what we're seeing here. I mean, they don't look all that scary. The issue, though, is you have a system of immigration, right? And like, you have laws, and these things need to be respected. There are ways that these, between refugee resettlement and asylum claims, that these things, we do have a system, but they have to respect the system. I have to respect.
Every country does that.
Like,
Every country
when you
does
travel, you have to respect the laws of the society you're going to. And this idea that they're going to go through and walk through several other nations to get to our nation, that's not what asylum is supposed to be for. Asylum is supposed to be for a government who is cracking down on you and you can't do anything about it. And it's supposed to be relief from that government. If you're going three countries away, that's not the same thing. There is a line there with refugee resettlement, but still it has to be done the proper way.
They've been offered settlement in Mexico. They don't want it. They want to come to the United States. Now, I wouldn't want to stay in Mexico either. I mean, look, if I were on the other side of this and I was in Mexico and I had no future for my kids were never going to get out of the poverty that I was living in, and the country next door didn't care, I would walk across the border too, because they're telling me, you're fine, you're not, just don't get caught, don't cause any problems. Okay, they don't care, I don't care. Kids, let's go. And I think if we're being honest, every single one of us would do that if the situation were reversed. If the country sent the signal they don't care, okay? So that's why we're in this situation. But we do care, and we also care about other people. If these people were in war-torn, boat people. We took all the boat people. That's what we
Cuba
do.
certainly was a...
Yeah, Cuba. That's what we do. And I don't even like the fact that you have to touch the soil if you're from Cuba. Geez, man, if you've made a '57 Chevy float all the way across, we need you in Detroit.
What do you see as I think there are clear bright lines here, and I honestly don't know them for asylum status, but what would the difference say between fleeing, the M13 gangs or whatever versus fleeing the communist regime? Is it because it's a political ideology, or what's
No. If you are fleeing the gangs because you're fleeing the gangs and the gangs are going to kill you, I get it. I'm with you. You can't do it because of the MS-13 gangs in your town. Okay, well, is there anywhere between here and Honduras that you can go and stay? If Mexico offers you and says, hey, you know what, you can stay here, okay, but MS-13 is in that group. MS-13, a leader of MS-13 is in that group.
And I believe it's refugee resettlement, where if you are being downtrodden by a third party and the government of your country will not protect you, that is an option for refugee resettlement. The way that would play out, however, would be an application to the United States, and then likely they would stay in Mexico for multiple years as all of those claims were sorted out. Again, they don't get to make the laws for us. They don't get to come in here and dictate to us that they're coming in and crossing our border and becoming part of the country. I think we do want this. We do want people here, and we want it to be easier than that. We do have to, I think, make it these sort of processes a lot quicker, because to be able to stay in Mexico, there's a good chance they're going to be victimized in Mexico too.
Yeah, you should be able to, and I know you can, but it's not real easy. You should be able to live on the other side of the border, come over here and work, and then go right back. Just go right back. And you should be able to apply for a green card and get it. You should be able to apply for citizenship. But there is a standard for that. Mm-hmm. You should be able to do that, and it shouldn't be this nightmare. We have people who want to become citizens and can't. Yeah. It's not right.
Yeah, I had a friend who was here, and he came here from a country and was going to, was working here. It was a good job, and he was coming up to the point where I think it was 1 month away from when his green card would expire. He had a working visa here, and he was sweating it out every day with no idea whether he was moving back to, I think, where did he come from?
Right.
Sweden, I think it was. We had no idea if he was going back there or if he was staying here. He had no idea. He had an apartment, he had a lease, he had all these things, had no clue. And then 2 weeks before his thing ran out, the whatever form he needed came through. It's ridiculous.
Jonathan Dunn is a guy who we've tried to hire here.
Yeah. With a good job.
He knows all kinds of stuff about Americans that American doesn't know. He's a commentator. He's great. He lives in Ireland. He couldn't even get a work visa. We're an employer saying we want him here. We'll shepherd him. We'll make sure that he's on the straight and narrow. He couldn't even get a work visa. Yeah. That's insane.
I just want to say really quickly before we go to break that I am very nervous. I feel very threatened sitting next to all of these white men. You want to point that out.
As a cat or
a Hispanic cat?
He's the biggest terror threat in this country is white men. That is also to Hispanic cats. You guys don't differentiate. No, pass. Back in a minute.
This chicken has made it through like every show today. And now
it does still look good though. Before we get into the economy, I want to thank our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. So in the event of an emergency, you could have this fried chicken.
Just carry around a bucket of chicken all day.
Yeah.
That's one way to do
have a bucket of chicken.
So by, I don't know, 12 hours later, is that the theme?
Yeah, well, it was in the 1970s.
12 hours later, you would be dead.
12 hours later, it would
poisoning.
look like this. 'Cause this has been on with me every show today. But it won't stop me from eating it later. Come on, you're ready, aren't you? Here's the thing. This is what you're down to. You're down to this and duck sauce in an emergency. And you're like, I don't know, I should eat that. Oh, well, there's nothing else to eat. So in an emergency, what you have is food storage. These come in little totes that you can, put under the bed. You can put it in your car. You just grab and go. And 2 weeks of food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, $75.
Preparewithnews.com. That is preparewithnews.com.
Can I just ask a question? Do you remember when old people used to say they're eating dog food? They're going to the grocery store and eating dog food.
No, I've never heard that.
You never heard that? Remember?
There's kind of the fear of like if they run out of money,
they're going to eat dog food.
Oh.
This is like fantastic. $75 for 2 weeks worth of food?
That's a great deal.
Yeah, stop your whining, old people. It's your fault you're eating dog food. I'm sorry.
Before we move on, do you actually have duck sauce at your house?
Yeah.
Really?
Don't?
No.
Before we move on, can I say a very quick chicken anecdote? I'll try and make it as quick as possible.
Okay, all right.
I grew up with a beagle, and beagles love stealing food. And I would come home. Sometimes she'd bring bones. She brought like a bag of horse treats one time. She brought a full pizza that was still warm. I came home one day in high school, and my dad was sitting on his car with a bucket of chicken. And I was like, "Hey, Dad, what's up?" And he's like, "Well, the dog brought this chicken home, and it's warm, but she hasn't opened it." And I was like, "No, don't do that. Don't make us this." He threw it away, but then my brother later fished it out and ate it. So we are that family. We are that family that ate, and I apologize to the Crater family, who I assume that changed.
All right. So the economy. So.
Nice introduction to the voice audience. I think now they feel like they know you a little bit.
So probably can relate to you.
I know I can. There's got to be a couple people that have had dogs bring home food that have eaten it.
It would not be me, just so we're clear.
There's an interesting thing going on in the economy. We've talked about it before. As you may know, I think free trade is one of the best things that's ever happened to humankind. I think it's that big of a deal, and it's why I talk about it all the time. And we've seen the tariffs been escalated. We've kind of started a trade war here with China, and I don't even know if we could say we've started it, but we certainly escalated it. And we have launched these large tariffs against China. And I think we're starting to just get to the point now where the economy is getting, sort of visibly hurt by it, and a lot of people who are watching this are starting to see the effects of it, and even people who supported it initially. Let me give you a couple examples here. This is first of all, Wall Street Journal, who did not support it, but they are talking about this study here from 151 nations between 1963 and 2014, looking for what occurred when tariffs rose by about 3.6 percentage points. Now you'll note that the tariffs in China, we're talking 25%, so it's much larger than those, as it says they're small potatoes compared with the tariffs. The result, slower growth, more unemployment, higher inequality, exchange rate appreciation, and no improvement in the trade balance, which President Trump has said is his main measure of trade health. We've seen that again here. There has been no decline in the trade imbalance. The trade imbalance means, I should be clear, that means absolutely nothing to me. I think we've seen this over and over and over again through history, that the times when we have a trade deficit are the times our economies is good, and the reverse is true. When we have a trade surplus, our economy is bad. It happened in the Great Recession. It's happened in almost every recession that we've had.
I have to tell you, it doesn't make any sense. Trade imbalances don't make as much sense as me saying, there's a massive trade imbalance between me and Target.
Or Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, I'm buying stuff from them.
It's not a trade.
So what?
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. It's something we all choose to do every single day. So that's one part of this. We have a Business Insider. Do we have the Business Insider headline by any chance? Here he goes. Trump's tax law sent stocks soaring, but now his trade war is hurting the market's biggest driver and threatening to erase all of his progress. This is starting to come out a lot. This is another one here from Jim Cramer, and I pulled this clip specifically because Jim Cramer, do you remember it was Kudlow and Cramer back in the day, right? Yeah. And Kudlow was the free trade guy, right? And now he's in the Trump White House. And Cramer, who is not a free trade guy, as he'll explain, and he's actually kind of supported the tariffs. Listen to his take now. This is from Mad Money yesterday.
Regular viewers know I've been a lot more supportive of the tariffs than most commentators. I'm not some doctrinaire free trader. I believe there's a time and a place for a little protectionism, especially when our trading partners refuse to play by the rules. In theory, I think the president is totally justified in his crackdown on China. However, even I knew that the tariffs would hurt. The whole point of this exercise was to help the steelmakers by making foreign competition more expensive, allowing companies like Nucor to raise their prices to levels that they get a decent return. And yet here we are. Wow. Last week, Nucor reported an underwhelming quarter, tepid guidance, and the stock's now at its lowest level since late last year. The tariffs aren't helping the steel industry. In fact, they may be hurting the steel industry.
Which they always do.
Yeah. I mean, and it's amazing that the target, for this is the one industry it was supposed to help. I mean, I still don't think it's justified.
We kind of figured this one out. I mean, like Adam Smith was writing about it.
Yeah.
And we had this one down.
Yeah, and then like the last 20 years, I mean, like for the most part, like the Republicans were the free trade party, and Democrats were kind of getting their act together on that. Like Obama and Hillary Clinton, for their many ills, were for pro-free trade for the most part.
Yeah, they were certainly not to the levels that I would have liked by any means. No, I don't think that they were good, but they had moved.
Though, they'd gone with,
We were at a point 5 years ago where it was legitimately just consensus. I mean, you had Bernie Sanders, right? Like, you had people like Bernie Sanders who were opposing it, but it was almost all opposition to free trade was gone. And look at the incredible, explosive, growth of the world. The billions of people ripped out of poverty, and a lot of it because of this. And now we're opposing it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Here's why this matters: the economy is fragile. It's very fragile, and we are looking now at all of the tax gains going away. It's all being eaten up by the increased prices. You're starting to see inflation go up. You're starting to see interest rates go up. You're starting to have some real problems. If the stock market goes unstable, spooks the average person on Main Street, this is a house of cards. It's a house of cards. The president, this matters because somebody has to tell the president, stop. It's not working. It's really going to start hurting you in the polls. Because the only thing that's keeping his numbers up, I'm convinced of it, people will put up with an awful lot, and there will always be 30% maybe of Trump supporters that will they'll be with him. However, there's 70% out there, 50% out there that if the economy goes into the crapper, they're not going to be with this president. They just won't.
All right, back in a minute.
I hope I didn't take all the time out for free trade when we had strippers on the docket.
Building.
Yeah.
All right, we've got strippers coming up next in overtime, but Glenn and Stu, you guys are hitting the road tomorrow.
Yes, that's
are
right.
You ready?
Very excited.
Yes, we are. Going to be in Richmond tomorrow, then
Hershey, then
Pennsylvania,
Pittsburgh.
then Cleveland.
We
Get your tickets at glenbeck.com/tour.
We have ridiculous restaurants planned at each side.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
What all are you going to do in Hershey?
I wonder.
I know, that one's...
Squeeze. Oh, no.
It smells like chocolate.
It does.
It really does.
You guys told me that blows my mind.
Wonderful town, Hershey.
I love it.
That's perfect for me because I can't eat the chocolate, but I like to smell it.
Why can't you eat it?
Well, because I have to fit into the cat suit.
Because of Bridges.
Forget the
Yeah.
You could become the cat suit lady of Hershey, Pennsylvania.
I could take the Riduzone and then eat the chocolate.
I think. I don't know if that's how it works. You should probably read the label.
See you in overtime.